Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the DarkWolf's Den Radio Show. Please stand and cover your heart, or put your hand over your heart for the playing of the national anthem. Please remain standing and hand over your heart for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands,
one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. That's right, Bubby.
Things are better left unknown, and I'll never find you here, 'cause no one's ever home. Oh, what a widow, a peaceful spider. When the glass is clean, she's a sneaky hider. Hide the lies and the alibis. Oh, what a sinner. Is it in her? What's the truth in this riddle? Is love really just this simple? I can't seem to find my way in this world that never stays. What a widow, a peaceful spider. When the glass is clean, she's a sneaky hider. Hide the lies and the alibis. What a sinner, is it in her? Is this real? Just illusion. I'm lost in wonderland of confusion. I'm lost in wonderland of confusion. Is this real or just illusion? Manifestation or a dark delusion? Is this real or just illusion? I'm lost in a wonderland of confusion.
Rabbit Hole is a community-driven radio. At times the community comments may reveal prejudices and other beliefs that we or our sponsors do not condone. Views or opinions expressed by the community, callers, or guests, are those of the individual speaking and do not represent the views or opinions of this site. Ripon Common Sense content is intended for mature audiences only. Enjoy.
This is My Life DIY, and
hi, this is Doge.
Hi, my name is Ash.
Hey everybody, it's AJ the Rippin' Rabbit.
This is Cynthia Sue Larson.
This is your man Meta, aka Propagate This Light.
And you're now listening
to DarkWolf's Den.
The DarkWolf's Den Show on Rippin' Common Sense Radio.
Are ghosts real?
We had 1,000 hours of continuous communication with the spirit world.
Does time travel actually exist?
The laws of physics seem to be compatible with time machines.
You know, sometimes I wonder about reincarnation. Don't you?
A 4-year-old boy in Adelaide, Australia, has told his parents that he used to be Britain's Princess Diana.
What would happen if the world found out that aliens were real?
I didn't say disclosure would be easy, but what is the alternative?
To establish a space force as the 6th branch of the armed forces.
We have so many questions and yet so little time, so to have you here, the pleasure is all mine.
Coming to you from a secret cave, hidden deep within the wilderness. This is the DarkWolf's Den Show. Now, here is your host, Jerry Hicks.
That's right, I am Jerry Hicks, also known as the Dark Wolf, and we are broadcasting live from a secret cave, hidden deep within the wilderness of Tennessee. That's right. We're ripping through the electromagnetic soup. We're tearing through the atmosphere, and we're tunneling away into your radio like a quantum particle. This is the DarkWolf's Den Show for Wednesday, November the 24th, 2021. So whether you're on the edge of reality, the edge of the galaxy, or the edge of your seat, we're glad you chose us to be right there with you. Ladies and gentlemen, tonight we're going to carry on our State of Mystery series, as I'm sure you know. We're going to leave the great state of Michigan, make our way around Lake Superior, and land once again in Minnesota. Well, we've got quite a few of interesting cryptids, ghost stories, and maybe even some UFO stuff. You never know. Whole lot of paranormal, very little time to cover it. So we will be getting started with all that here in just a moment. But first, I'd like to go ahead and take a moment to apologize to all those looking for our Thursday show. You can catch that over on BitChute or Odyssey, as YouTube, being the absolute worst site on the internet, has decided that it doesn't believe that you should know what your rights are, regardless. Apparently they got me for medical misinformation. In other words, I told the truth about something medical based, right? Because you know that's the worst thing YouTube has, is the narrative that they carry. So YouTube, you have become the worst platform on the internet, and you will soon be going the way of MySpace if I have my way about it. But ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being here tonight. I appreciate you bearing with me through that rant. Like I said, you can find Thursday's episode still on platforms that are actually worthwhile, like BitChute and Odyssey, or of course always over at the rippinrabbithole.com, of course RIPONRABBITHOLE.com, a place where we don't do communist things like Facebook and YouTube do. But anyways, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being here tonight. Let's see who all we do have here over in the chat room. How are you guys doing tonight on this pathetic platform? JoJo's Deranged Lunatic, JJ, glad to see all of you guys in the DarkWolf's Den Show tonight. JoJo says, how are you? Doing great, JJ says, hi, Jerry, and JoJo's, hi, JJ, good to see you. Let's go, Brandon, he says. Let's go, Brandon.
FJB.
That's right, Bubby boy. Deranged Lunatic says, Happy Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving, Deranged, and happy Thanksgiving to every last one of you guys within the sound of my voice. My Life DIY popping in here says, woohoo, woohoo, My Life, glad to have you too. Says, love the way you say Minnesota. Appreciate that. Sandy B over in the Rippin' Rabbit Hole says, hi, Michael, happy Thanksgiving. Michael Fontaine first in the chat room over there tonight. And popping over into the Darkwolf's Den Show, I see waving also to those folks. Sandy B says, hey, Michael, happy Thanksgiving. Rippin' Rabbit says, saluting. Glad to see it, Rippin' Rabbit. I love the fact that we've added that into the start of the show. And now that I'm thinking about it, I should probably turn the flag off, right? I always forget to do that. But I'm sure you guys don't mind looking at such an amazing flag. One that we all love, at least I do anyway. Say what, Bubby?
Let's go, Brandon, FJB.
Let's go, Brandon, FJB. That's right, Bubby boy. We'll get to that here in a little bit. Terry Taggart says, hey, Terry, good to see you. Biz Woofer popping in with the hey. Hey, Biz Woofer, glad you've joined us tonight. Man, Danny Mull saying howdy, Biz Woofer. Looks like Terry is taking a little trip over to Vegas. I hope you're having a wonderful time over there. An interesting city for sure. So she got in just in time to see the Christmas trees over there, so that's really cool. I've actually already got mine up behind me, and I know some of you also have yours up too. And whether you are listening over on YouTube or worldwide on Rippin' Common Sense Radio, we very much appreciate having every last one of you guys along for the ride. And do remember, if they do remove our content from this communist platform, you can always get our content over on the rippinrabbithole.com, where we don't believe in the censorship. That is RIPONRABBITHOLE.com. Hit the listen live section, drop down to the on demand, and you can hear every show we have done. So if you're missing anything, ladies and gentlemen, go check that out. We've got a lot of paranormal to check out tonight in the state of Minnesota. But before we can get into the paranormal side of things, as you guys know, we have two more little fun segments to do. The first of which we call Today in History. I gotta say, this one here is pretty neat and something we may see again in our own lifetime. Check this out, ladies and gentlemen. On this day in 1715, the Thames River in London freezes over. The entire river. They ended up ice skating on it that year. Something that maybe we'll have the opportunity to do again if the world ever gains common sense back. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, that is today's segment of Today in History.
Say what?
Our quote of the day today, ladies and gentlemen, comes from the late, great President John F. Kennedy. He says, and I quote, "Life is never easy. There is work to be done and obligations to be met. Obligations to truth, to justice, and to liberty." End quote. Of course, all three of those things is something that YouTube knows absolutely nothing about, especially when it comes to truth or liberty, right? Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, that is today's segment of
Say What?
Thank you, Stewie. All right, ladies and gentlemen, the moment you guys have been waiting for. Let's dive deep into the paranormal of Minnesota. And of course, every week we start out with our cryptids of the states. And this state has, well, it's got some interesting ones for sure. Our first one kind of blurs the lines between ghosts and cryptids.
The phantom kangaroo.
I gotta admit, a kangaroo is not something that I expected to hear of in Minnesota.
Okay, I know it doesn't sound too scary, like a cute little kangaroo. How could it be scary? Well, this one definitely is. So people have described this kangaroo as being 3.5 to 5.5 feet tall.
Which, to be fair, is pretty well an average height for a kangaroo.
With glowing eyes and supernatural powers.
However, neither one of those aspects are found in your normal kangaroos.
It is said that it can vanish into thin air and can brutally murder local animals. Now, people have claimed to see this phantom kangaroo all throughout Minnesota, but the most recorded sightings were in Coon Rapids. People have said that they have seen this creature rummaging through their trash or even killing pets.
Kangaroos have been known to kill smaller animals if they feel threatened by them, more of a self-defense thing, as well as the digging in the trash cans. That just seems like something an animal that's literally looking for food would do, like a raccoon or a bear or anything else, which really blows my mind, the aspects of these cryptids that we're finding that are just like regular creatures that we know in nature, right? They aren't like off the beaten path. Aside from the whole disappearing thing, the cryptids do have that over normal animals of nature, right?
People who have seen it have called it a big bunny, but then they would get scared when it disappeared right in front of their eyes.
So it does make me wonder, perhaps this kangaroo has some of the same traits as the Bigfoots have, right? The ability to literally disappear right in front of your eyes. Which makes me wonder if these creatures aren't producing something in their fur that allows the light to hit it just right and make them appear to have disappeared when they haven't really gone anywhere. At least that's my theory. Anyways, folks, moving on to our next cryptid, we have one that we haven't seen in a couple states.
The Dogman.
And of course, those that watch this show on a regular basis will know that's not exactly a new cryptid to any of us, but it's one that we haven't seen for quite a few states now, so once again, we have another case file of a Dogman.
This is another creature that has been reported in different regions of Minnesota. So in 2009, a man encountered this cryptid. He was driving along a country road when he spotted some deer. He pulled over and was watching the deer when he spotted what he referred to as a Dogman. He said that this creature was 7 feet tall, 2-legged, and had big, long hands with opposable thumbs.
I mentioned a moment ago that I think a lot of these creatures are just natural creatures of nature that we haven't scientifically officially discovered. However, on the Dogman, I'm a little torn as to whether or not they are regular creatures of nature or some kind of bad lab experiment, for instance.
He also said that this creature had a long snout with broad shoulders and muscular thighs. He was covered in dark brown fur. So maybe werewolves are real and this is a version of one.
Or perhaps it is a werewolf. What do you guys think? Do you think the Dogman that we've been experiencing across these different states, do you think it's a cryptid or a lab experiment or a werewolf? So go ahead, put a 1 in the chat room if you think it's just another genuine cryptid like the Bigfoot. Go ahead, put a 2 in the chat room if you think it's some kind of lab experiment gone horribly wrong. Or put a 3 in the chat room if you think it is a werewolf. And a 4 in the chat room if you're just not quite sure.
Now, thankfully, this creature did not attack this man. They made eye contact, and as soon as they did, the man drove away.
Not that I blame him, but I would be the idiot that would go running up to this thing, right? Chasing the Dogman instead of the Dogman chasing me. But there's another thing people in Minnesota have been chasing, and that is in their lakes. They have their own version of Nessie. It's called
Peppy the Lake Monster.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Instead of Nessie, you have Peppy.
Now, this lake monster is thought to be similar to Nessie the Loch Ness Monster. In fact, maybe they're related. Who knows? Well, Peppy is a massive snake-like creature with a long neck who lives in Lake Pepin. There have been various sightings throughout the 18th and 1900s. People who have seen it have said that it looks like something between the size of an elephant and a rhino and has smooth gray skin.
So this is definitely one large creature, and it does match the different case files we've heard of different lake monsters.
They also said that it can snatch a flying bird right out of the air. Now, Peppy has been considered harmless as there have been no reports of it causing any harm to citizens. In fact, some individuals have gone diving in hopes to see this creature.
Now, that sounds like my kind of sport right there. diving for cryptids. I'm 100% ready. Let's go.
There's currently a $50,000 reward for anyone who can prove that Peppy is indeed real.
I don't know about you guys, but I could definitely use a $50,000 reward. So let's go do some diving over into the Lake Superior, or Lake Pepin, I'm sorry, and see if we can't find old Peppy, right? Even just a picture, that'll do. But before we get to our next cryptid, ladies and gentlemen, let's see what you guys said about the Dogman. Remember, it was 1 in the chat room if you think it is a genuine cryptid, 2 in the chat room if you think it's some kind of lab experiment, 3 in the chat room if you think it's a werewolf, and 4 in the chat room if you're just not sure. Let's see what you guys said over here. Everybody hears you right now. You're on the microphone, Bubby. We've got a couple of you guys over here in the chat. Rippin' Rabbit Hole says 2. Definitely thinks it is a Dogman. Sandy B with the 2. Terry Taggart with the 2. So quite a few believing it is, a lab experiment. 1 for Dogman, 2 for lab experiment. That's right. I already forgot what the answers were. Listen to me. And then Mandani Mall says 1, 2, and 3. Ari. Over here in the DarkWolf's Den Show chat, JJ with the 1. Our buddy Creepy Little Book sliding in with the 3. Glad to see you, Creepy Little Book, my friend. Here is a wrench. JoJo's with the 1. All right, Michael Fontaine 2, 3. So not quite sure in his answer. Maybe a 2, maybe a 3, right? But moving from the water now back onto the land, we have Minnesota's version of a possible Bigfoot.
The hairy man of Virga's Trail. Maybe you should think twice before going on a nice little hike in Minnesota. So apparently there have been sightings of a giant hairy man-type creature lurking this trail. This creature is supposed to be 8 feet tall with a musty odor.
Am I the only one, by the way? Sorry, I apparently also don't know how to use a mute button. That happens when you become a host, by the way. But ain't that right, my life? But seriously, am I the only one that heard Peppy and thought Pepe Le Pew, right? The cartoon character.
Honestly, I don't know who got close enough to smell this creature. I feel like if it approached me, smelling it would be the last thing on my mind.
Unless the odor had such an overwhelming stench that it just kind of pierced everything, right? Then you would have no choice but to notice. Kind of like the same thing we see in a lot of Bigfoot reports, right? It has its own stench to it, if you will.
This creature is also supposed to be very aggressive. A man by the name of Kan Zitzao apparently encountered this creature while driving in the woods. He claimed that this creature jumped on his car and started smashing the hood.
So this Bigfoot is clearly not a fan of cars, right? But at least he didn't do it with boulders. At least it didn't say he did it with boulders, right?
Apparently, there are also reports of brutal animal attackings from this creature.
I love how they call it brutal animal attacks, but if a bear attacks something, they call it getting dinner. I'm just saying. But what do you guys think about this Minnesota hairy wild man, or Bigfoot, perhaps? Do you think it is a Bigfoot like the normal ones we've heard across the different states? Go ahead and put a 1 in the chat room if you think it's definitely a Bigfoot. Go ahead and put a 2 in the chat room if you think, no, it's probably just some kind of hoax. And put a 3 in the chat room if you're unsure. But our last creature on the list tonight, ladies and gentlemen, make no mistake, we saved the best for last. And it is, of course, the Minnesota Wendigo.
Coming in at number 2, we have the Wendigo.
Now, hang on a minute. JoJo's talking about Bigfoot equals Dark Wolf. I take that as a resentment. I very much resemble that remark, JoJo's.
Now, apparently the Wendigo has been seen in forests of colder regions like Minnesota and Canada. Why does it have to be in Canada too? So the Wendigo is a giant creature that can be up to 15 feet tall. They are skinny and often have antlers coming out of their head.
I don't know about you guys, but this is definitely one cryptid I do not want to run into in a dark night in the middle of the woods.
If we put aside the Wendigo's appearance briefly, there was a general agreement as to what the Wendigo was and what it represented. It is almost always associated with cannibalism, famine, and greed that came with the long cold winters, which is why so many saw it as a malevolent supernatural entity.
And the description that we just heard of the 15-foot tall creature with the antlers, that actually isn't the classic Wendigo.
The more traditional appearance of the Wendigo is closer to a haggard and decomposing corpse. Its skin is stretched extremely tightly over its bones, creating a thin translucent layer of desiccated flesh, from which its bones look ready to burst. Its complexion varies from a sickly white to an ashy grey. It has long spindly fingers with sharp nails that it uses to tear its victims into pieces. The easiest way to describe this type of Wendigo is as a gaunt skeleton that looks like it has risen from the grave.
Now I'm not entirely sure which one is scarier, the 15-foot creature with horns and antlers or whatnot, or the thing that looks like it climbed right out of a grave. At least the first one looks like a regular creature, right? At least to some degree.
Wherever the Wendigo goes, it is followed by the odour of death and decay. It is a vile creature with jagged, misshapen teeth that at times resemble yellow fangs. In this form, the Wendigo may be a creature that resembles a humanoid, but I assure you they are nothing short of anyone's worst nightmare. There's an interesting description that comes from Innu lore that believed Wendigos were giant creatures made of ice that would dwarf over human beings, and this was because every time a Wendigo ate a person, they would grow in proportion to the meal, so the bigger the meal, the bigger they grew. And this was one of the ways they used to describe the Wendigo's insatiable hunger, because it created this vicious cycle, where the more the Wendigo consumed, the bigger and stronger they grew, but it would have to consume more and more to satisfy its ever-growing hunger.
That sounds more like a curse to me than a trait, right?
This definitely gives us an interesting contrast. You have these enormous gluttonous creatures, and then you have these thin, gaunt husks that are wasting away, but both still suffer from starvation, and that is what we consider the curse of the Wendigo. Its hunger can never be sated, its quest for new victims is eternal. Wendigos are always regarded as evil, and this is in no doubt because of their cannibalistic nature, but how does one become such an evil entity?
Wait, you mean a human can become this kind of entity?
There is the belief that humans could turn into Wendigos if they were overcome by greed.
Oh my god. That explains so much, ladies and gentlemen. Think about it. Something that looks like a rotting corpse that has an insatiable appetite for destruction and is formed from somebody who is overcome with greed. My God, ladies and gentlemen, I just realized Joe Biden is a Wendigo. That explains everything.
These stories were told as a way to encourage moderation and essentially scare individuals into behaving a certain way. Those who committed unspeakable acts of cannibalism were also thought to become Wendigos, and this belief is where many attribute the start of the Wendigo legend.
A legend that still remains, in my opinion, one of the creepiest of all Native American legends. But let's see what you guys said about the Bigfoot earlier. Remember, it was 1 in the chat room if you think it's really a regular Bigfoot like the rest of the Bigfoot we found around the country. Go ahead and put a 2 in the chat room if you think it is a absolute hoax. And put a 3 in the chat room if you're unsure. Let's go ahead and see what you guys had to say. All right. Hey, Bubby. What number is that right there? What number is that? Are those ones?
No.
That is to a 1. Jojo says 111. Absolutely, the Bigfoot is real. What number is that? 3. Number 3. JJ says 3. Unsure. My Life says 4. I think they're dimensional. And to be fair, My Life said the other one was dimensional also. All right, Bubby, what number is that?
2.
Rippin' Rabbit says 2. Thinks it very well could be a hoax.
Wait.
Terry Taggart says 3. Unsure. And what is that one again?
2.
And Sandy B says 2. Definitely thinks it could also be a hoax. I'm kind of torn on that one. My friend, Rippin' Rabbit, that's right. They're all my friends, actually. Yeah, but I'm kind of torn on that, guys. Hey, Alva, good to see you. I'm kind of between that. I'm not sure if it's real or not, but I'm definitely not going...
all the people are your friends?
That's right. I'm definitely not going to discount it. And unfortunately, that's going to do it for the cryptids for Minnesota. Not a lot of cryptid creatures running around Minnesota, right? Not like most of the other states. So seems more of a safe state in comparison, unless you go over to Lake Pepin, right? Then you might be able to catch Peppy. At least a good picture of her, and get a $50,000 reward nonetheless. There you go. But one thing we don't get to do a whole lot of on these paranormal state of mysteries is run across some good UFO cases. However, that is not the case here in Minnesota.
So there are UFO sightings in every city, basically. Anything in the sky that looks a bit odd is automatically claimed as a UFO, and people believe it too. Even if it was reported by old Mr. Jenkins who wasn't even wearing his glasses.
Now, let's be fair. A UFO is just an unidentified flying object. So if I can't identify it, to me, it's unidentified, it's flying, and it's an object there. So that would count as a UFO. It may be a balloon, but if I can't identify what it is technically a UFO, right? But this story goes a lot deeper than that, ladies and gentlemen.
So in August of 1979, a deputy by the name of Val Johnson suffered an attack from what he claims was a UFO.
Well, we can definitely rule out kites and balloons. Those don't tend to attack people from the sky, right? But you know, the thing about this case file is this is coming from a police officer, a person that's literally trained to pick up on these small details, right? And if he didn't know what was going on, well, that kind of says something.
So this deputy was in the Marshall County when he saw a strange light on the road ahead of him. He drove towards the light when all of a sudden it completely filled his car and blinded him. Half an hour later, he woke up in a ditch. He had welder burns on his eyes.
That had to be an incredibly bright light to create welder burns on his eyes.
And the time on his wristwatch and dashboard clock was off.
We know that's another classic sign of a real UFO encounter is the fact that the electronics tend to go very wonky, especially clocks in the presence of UFOs.
His car had a smashed headlight and his antenna was bent. Police have no explanation as to what happened.
It sounds to me like he encountered a genuine UFO, right? Like I said, this fits a lot of the things we've heard in other case files, from the electromagnetic interference, assumedly, messing with his watch, to what seems like missing time. And what I can't figure out is how he got out of the vehicle and into the ditch. So I would even dare say this was possibly an abduction case if I didn't know any better. But I guess I don't know any better, right? The state of Minnesota ain't got a whole lot of cryptids, and this was the only really good UFO case that I was able to find. So hopefully we'll have more luck in the second half with the ghost stories, right? But speaking of the second half, ladies and gentlemen, it is getting to that time. So my name is Jerry Hicks, also known as the Dark Wolf, and you're listening to the DarkWolf's Den Radio Show exclusively on Rippin' Common Sense Radio Network, the Rippin' Rabbit Hole. We will be right back with the second half of the DarkWolf's Den Radio Show after these messages. Don't you touch that dial. That's right.
We gotta stoke the fires and run off the men in black. Don't touch that dial. We'll be right back.
Oh yeah, that howl means your holiday weekend has begun. Hi everyone, it's AJ the Rippin' Rabbit. Are you enjoying tonight's DarkWolf's Den Radio Show, the state of mystery for Minnesota? I know I am. If you are and you haven't done so already, please make sure to thumb up that video, hit that subscribe button, and ring that bell. You'll get our notifications every time we go live. We're here every Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday nights, bringing you the very best of common sense radio, the Rippin' Rabbit Hole. Jerry Hicks and the DarkWolf's Den will return again tomorrow night, Thursday, November 25th, a so very thankful broadcast for Thanksgiving. Starts at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central. Tune in and let your tryptophan take over after you've eaten your turkey with a night of being so very thankful with Jerry Hicks and the DarkWolf's Den Radio Show. Then I'll return for another holiday, a shopping holiday, Friday night. That's right, Black Friday. A journey deep through the rabbit hole of Black Fridays, the yearly shopping craze of controversy. Something tells me this year will not be unlike any other Black Friday. Of course, that is Friday, November 26th. Get your shopping on. Get out there, get early if you're going to do it. You don't want to be out there when the madness takes over, which is the entire day. So you know what? Stay home and eat leftover turkeys and just go shopping on Saturday when nobody's out, because they're too tired. Then Saturday night, after you're done shopping, you can spend an evening with me diving through the virtual sandbox of the metaverse. We're going to explore the metaverse and the new digital virtual sandbox, and just exactly how much is the value of digital dirt in 2021. It may shock you. Again, all shows start at 7 p.m. Pacific, so be here or be square. Then Sunday night, we'll end out the weekend right together with you and a turkey sandwich. That's right, the leftovers need to be done by Sunday. We don't carry them into the next week, that's for sure. Sunday, November 28th, Planet Scouting. If you're ready to jump off of this planet and head to a different one, we'll dive down the rabbit hole and explore just where we may go after our planet no longer can house humanity. And that'll be a great way to end out the weekend right together with you. I gotta say, it's a pretty incredible lineup for the weekend. And the weekend continues as we return you back to the DarkWolf's Den Radio Show, State of Mystery for Minnesota, for Wednesday, November 24th, 2021. You're listening to the Rip'n Common Sense Radio Network, the Rip'n Rabbit Hole.
This is My Life DIY, and
hi, this is JoJo.
Hi, my name is Ash.
Hey everybody, it's AJ the Rip'n Rabbit.
This is Cynthia Sue Larson.
This is your man Meta, a.k.a. Propagate This Light.
And you're now listening
to DarkWolf's Den.
The DarkWolf's Den Show on Rip'n Common Sense Radio.
If you were meant to be controlled, you would have come with a remote, but you didn't. And that's why you listen to the DarkWolf's Den Show. Now, here is your host, Jerry Hicks.
That's right, I am Jerry Hicks, also known as the Dark Wolf, and welcome back to the second half of the DarkWolf's Den Radio Show for Wednesday, November the 24th, 2021. So whether you're on the edge of reality, the edge of the galaxy, or the edge of your seat, we're glad you chose us to be right there with you. Ladies and gentlemen, if you missed the first half or you're just tuning in, we went over a number of cryptids, from a Nessie-like creature called Peppy to a Bigfoot and even a dog man. So make sure you check that out, as well as a special UFO story to round out the first half. Now in the second half, we're going to dig into the haunted places of Minnesota, as we do every episode. And I gotta say, ladies and gentlemen, Minnesota definitely takes the title for having the most haunted schools in one state, at least that we found so far, right? We know that haunted colleges and haunted schools is most definitely more common than not, right? As we found across this state series. But like I said, Minnesota so far takes the award for having the most in one state.
Winona State University. Winona State University in Winona was founded in 1858 and has a history steeped in the supernatural. Across campus, students have reported shadowy apparitions stalking them at night, otherworldly cries, and strong winds that seem to pick up from nowhere.
So definitely quite a variety of details across these different hauntings on this campus. But what I find interesting here is the wind, right? when we have a case of a haunting, a lot of times we'll have a drop in temperature. And I would only assume, knowing how physics works, that in the right conditions, the drop in temperature, opposed to the temperature of the regular area around it, would cause a sort of wind, right? The temperature differential tends to do that. Colder air over or under hotter air tends to cause some type of wind either way, right? Kind of how tornadoes are made.
The activity seems to get stronger as one gets closer to Lourdes Hall, which is believed to be the center of the hauntings.
Now, this is an interesting case file because we know it's not a stone tape case, as it's not something replaying over and over. It is clearly an active haunting, as we have the wind, for instance, interaction with the environment. And as we get into Lourdes Hall, we're going to find it gets closer and closer to a poltergeist type activity.
There, students and faculty report objects moving on their own, shadowy figures in empty rooms, and legs being tugged underwater at the pool.
I think most of my Mandela effect friends will agree. The objects moving around, not that big a deal. Not that big a deal at all. As a matter of fact, most of us are pretty well used to that one. The manifestations in empty rooms, that's a little creepy. But somebody grabbing my leg, an invisible somebody grabbing my leg while I'm underwater, that's out for me. That's beyond creepy. Like, that is one of my big nightmares, that I'm going to be swimming or something and something's going to grab my leg and yank me down under the water, right? That is the last thing that I want. So that makes this haunting, in my book, quite scary.
The apparition of Rebecca, or Ruth, a nun that killed herself here, is commonly seen in the dorms and has been known to be mischievous at times.
The ghost of a nun. That's another type ghost we really don't hear a whole lot about, isn't it? I like the fact that not only is the ghost a nun, but it's a mischievous nun, right? Likes to cause trouble and play pranks. But that is not the only school on our list, of course. That is only the first.
The University of Minnesota. The University of Minnesota in Minneapolis was founded in
Just want to take a second to shout out Mr. Rowell over in the Darkwolf's Den Show, as well as Maggie's Aces. Glad to have both you guys joining in for the fun.
Papa, is it doing way?
Yeah.
1951, and is home to some fascinating hauntings and history. The Washington Street Bridge on campus is said to be haunted by famous poet John Berryman. He's been known to walk behind people crossing the bridge at night, and is said to be friendly, usually seen writing on a notepad and muttering to himself.
Now, I mentioned the stone tape theory earlier. This particular haunting sounds like a classic stone tape example, because you have a ghost here that seems to be reliving what they did in life over and over and over, albeit mundane. To a poet or to an artist of that type especially, you can imagine there's definitely a very deep emotional connection there. In this case, deep enough to create a stone tape, or a repetition of something happening over and over and over.
At night, strange howls can be heard from the Walter Library. Some describe them as otherworldly.
So, hellhounds in the library? I really don't even know what to make of that one, guys.
In Pioneer Hall, the ghost of a murdered dorm official can be seen at night. He's been known to carry a lantern, and, most often, students see the bob of his light through the windows as he makes his rounds from the other side.
This kind of reminds me of the lanterns that are reported a lot of times along the railroad tracks, from the ghost of people who have worked on the tracks and been killed as such. So it really makes me wonder also about orbs when I hear stories like that. If these lanterns are the equivalent of great big orbs, spiritual ghost orbs, if you will, moving through the environment. I don't know, just a really interesting thought, right? And what's another interesting thought is the fact that we have not one, not two, but yet we have yet a third haunted school in Minnesota.
The Public School Orphanage Museum. The Public School Orphanage Museum in Owatonna was constructed in 1887 and was originally called West Hills.
Another thing that I'm starting to deduce from these ghost series on these states is anything built in the 1800s is probably going to be haunted.
There is an on-site cemetery holding the remains of 168 unclaimed children, though others died here, were claimed and buried elsewhere.
Well, it does not take a genius to figure out why this place is haunted, right? There's something about the energy of a child that is just so much more extreme. And you've got a whole graveyard here yeah, I would definitely say we found the source of the haunting, folks.
This is literally the haunted orphanage of your nightmares.
Really quick here. Mandani Mall says mostly snores were heard emanating from our library. Maybe that's the sounds they were hearing. Maybe somebody was sleeping so hard their snores sound like howling, right?
Allegedly plagued by the angry spirits of all those lost orphans. Staff and visitors have reported the sounds of tiny footsteps, giggles coming from the darkest corners of the building, the smell of cigar smoke, and books flying from the shelves.
Aside from the books flying from the shelves, so far this is actually a pretty tame haunting.
On several occasions, phone calls have come from the empty building in the middle of the night to the local police station. When police arrived and searched the premises, they found it completely empty.
Okay, now that just gave me chills. That is uber creepy. That's beyond stone tape, right? That's, again, full interaction with the environment using electronic devices once again. So communicating, talk about communicating with the dead. There are some really spooky communications with the dead, right? But ladies and gentlemen, that's it for the haunted public school orphanage museum. However, we have not one, not two, not three, but ladies and gentlemen, Minnesota has 4 haunted schools. Check this out.
Concordia College. Concordia College in Moorhead was founded in 1891 on the site of what used to be the Episcopalian Bishop Whipple School, which closed its doors 4 years prior in 1887.
Again, I say, anything that was built in the 1800s is more likely than not got some type of haunting connected to it, right?
Along with being the perfect private college to jump into if you're interested in the liberal arts, it's also a great school for those with an interest in the paranormal. Both Hoyam and Brown Halls are said to be haunted by the ghost of a pale woman with blonde hair in a long black cloak.
There are a lot of case files about the woman in white, but there's not that many case files about the woman in black.
This mischievous spirit has been known to flood the bathrooms regularly.
Not something we generally hear in a normal haunting.
Move students' personal belongings, lock and unlock doors.
Again, not the other type of matter. Matter being a very relative word, of course, in this case.
On several occasions, students and faculty rehearsing or setting up for plays have...
Alright, are we back, ladies and gentlemen? It looks like we had a bit of an issue here. Are we back on the air here? Maybe we can refresh this, see if we got some... Here we go. Successfully reconnected, it says. Are we back, ladies and gentlemen? Go ahead, put a 1 in the chat room if you can hear us. It looks like we had a bit of a dropout there. I'm not entirely sure what happened. I just want to make sure we're back on the air before we go any further. All right, we're back. My life says we're back. Again, I do apologize, guys, and I do appreciate that. Thank you for your patience.
Return to the stage after a break to find all of the props in different locations, a feat that would normally take hours.
Once again, a very, very strong entity, again, for a lack of better terms, an entity that has the ability to manipulate this side of reality from that side. Something that you see in hauntings, but to this degree is kind of a little more rare.
And while Owl and the ghostly woman are terrifying tales on their own, many believe they aren't the only specters haunting this old school. Also reported here, full-bodied apparitions walking the campus at night, disembodied footsteps, strange knocking sounds, and car doors opening and closing on their own. Many also report the strong feeling of being closely watched from the time they step foot on campus, and several have reported feeling so unnerved that they actually had to leave the area.
So it sounds to me like this school is nothing short of infested with ghostly activity. a really strong ghostly activity too. It isn't just your random little stuff. You've got a whole lot of... It's fine till now, stupid YouTube. So it looks like I am back up. Yeah, we've been running really smooth, and then all of a sudden I've been having these internet connection issues. I can say it's not YouTube this time, folks. It is on my internet for whatever reason. I can't get back to those. Yeah, I think the Rippin' Rabbit Hole chat shut itself down, honestly. Just one of those. That is YouTube on that side over the Rippin' Rabbit Hole. But yeah, I do apologize once again. I do hope that we are back live and clear and loud. Yeah, we're back. Good, good, good. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, let's try to finish this out.
St. Mary's University of Minnesota. St. Mary's University of Minnesota in Winona was founded in 1912 as a men's college, but now stands privately owned as a co-educational facility. The man known for raising most of the funds for the college was Bishop Patrick Heffron, who was loved and respected by all of his students. It's around this very same bishop that...
By the way, this is the 5th haunted school in Minnesota, so that's 5 haunted schools in Minnesota. Definitely more than we've ever found in any other state.
Tragic and frightening local legend was born. Heffron may have been a loving father figure to his students, but it's said that the magnificent university was his life, and he ran a very tight ship, harshly reprimanding any staff members who didn't follow policy to an exact. One of said staff members was Father Lachey, who was recorded as being unruly, arrogant, and spiteful. Lachey showed little patience for Heffron's beloved students and had very few friends. When the time came for the campus to grow, Lachey begged Heffron for his own parish, but Heffron refused, deeming him too unstable. One morning, while Bishop Heffron was celebrating Mass alone in the chapel, Lachey burst in with a pistol, shooting the bishop first in the leg, then through the lung. But instead of going down, Heffron gave chase, scaring...
Okay, that's just funny. JJ says YouTube is getting worse than JB press conferences. That is so true.
Scaring Lachey into fleeing the chapel before collapsing on the front step. As some variations of this legend would have you believe, this was it was over, and the ghost of Bishop Heffron was destined to haunt the old parish and campus for all eternity.
So I would like to point out how insane it is to me that these are men of God, if you will, that not only got into an argument, the guy went and got a gun. A man of the cloth went and got a gun and come back to murder the other guy. Apparently he didn't know the 10 Commandments that well, but again, mind-boggling, but you've got the trauma, you've got the high emotion, you've got all the perfect mixes for a haunting.
Throughout the 1940s,
hello, it's Courtney. Glad to have you here too.
Many students began reporting and telling the tale of a ghostly man of the cloth seen all over campus, especially in Heffron Hall, which started the belief that it was the old bishop. But something didn't add up. The ghostly man of the cloth was said to seem angry, malevolent, and was even known to give chase to any who crossed his path, while the real Heffron loved his students. Eventually, the dots were connected, and history revealed that, amazingly, Heffron didn't actually die from the assault in the chapel. Another priest, Father Narmal, spied Lachey fleeing the scene and managed to get Heffron to aid. Heffron recovered fully and passed away much later from cancer in 1927. Lachey passed away later still in 1943, still under lock and key.
Well, that definitely adds a bit of a twist to the story. So if it isn't the bishop, who could it be? Well, this story takes yet another twist and gets even darker.
During Lachey's stay at the mental institution, it's speculated that he dabbled in dark magics. And in 1931, a maid found Father Lynch, a good friend of Heffron, burned to a crisp, holding his Bible in his bed as if he had spontaneously combusted.
Now, spontaneous combustion and dark magic is never something that I ever really put together, but now I definitely cannot discount the idea, right?
Due to the number of hauntings coming from Heffron Hall, students assumed it must be the old bishop, but quickly discovered it was the evil spirit of Lachey. Over time, hauntings became rather severe, and it seemed the wicked old priest was destined to torment the students Heffron loved in life. with many of them reporting strange scratching sounds from the walls, otherworldly chills, vicious attacks in the dark, and one boy who even claimed to awaken to find the full-bodied apparition of a very pale Lachey grinning over his bed maniacally. This very same student was found that morning with a broken hand, explaining that he punched Lachey in the face and then watched him vanish into thin air. If you plan on or are currently attending St. Mary's, never fear, this real-life scary story has a happy ending. And paranormal attacks on students came to a head when students began reporting the familiar face of the spirit of Bishop Heffron himself returned to defend his campus. As the legend has it, the stubborn old bishop would turn in his grave if anything dark ever befell his beloved campus or students, and it's said he did just that. And though, to date, strange pranks and odd happenings believed to be the work of Lachey are still commonly reported across campus, it's said that whenever the ghostly priest goes a little too far or tries attacking students, Heffron is there to stand in his way, the air suddenly filling with the smell of old incense, a calming feeling in the wind, and some even claiming to see the old bishop himself appearing with a stern look that causes Lachey to vanish into nothing.
Well, that is definitely a story unlike most case files we get here, right? We definitely don't normally have a story like that of two ghosts that we are sure who they are and why they're battling each other. We've heard a lot of stories of different ghosts together, but never one quite like that. But what do you guys think? Do you guys think that Minnesota is definitely a state of mystery with its cryptids, UFOs, and 5 haunted colleges, earning the award for the most haunted schools in one state for sure? Or do you think we are yet again barking up the wrong tree? In the end, ladies and gentlemen, all you can do is look at the evidence, apply a little common sense, and you be the judge. We got to close it out. That's right, that's it for this episode of the DarkWolf's Den Show for Wednesday, November the 24th, 2021. So whether you're on the edge of reality, the edge of the galaxy, or the edge of your seat, we're glad you chose us to be right there with you. Ladies and gentlemen, the den may be closing, but don't you worry, the weekend fun has only just begun. That's right. We will be back tomorrow, Thanksgiving Day, Thursday, November the 25th, 2021, 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central, with an all-new episode of the DarkWolf's Den Show named So Very Thankful. During this Thanksgiving holiday, we're going to discuss thankfulness and what we are thankful for and what it even means to be thankful, right? Something that has kind of been lost in today's society. We'll go over all that and more tomorrow, Thursday, November the 25th, 2021, 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central, on the DarkWolf's Den Radio Show. Then on Friday, November the 26th, 2021, 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central, our buddy AJ the Rippin' Rabbit takes back to the airwaves with an all-new episode of the Rippin' Rabbit Hole Live Show. That's right. On Friday, he'll be talking about Black Friday. That is the biggest shopping day of the year, and it's actually kind of waned in the last couple of years down to Cyber Monday, right? But he'll be discussing Black Friday on Black Friday, November 26, 2021, 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central. Then on Saturday, November the 27th, 2021, 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central, AJ the Rippin' Rabbit comes back for another episode of the Rippin' Rabbit Hole Live Show where he'll be discussing a virtual sandbox. Now that sounds really fun. I wonder if it's the virtual sandbox that I think it is. If so, you guys are in for a real treat. He will be discussing all that and more on Saturday, November the 27th, 2021, 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central. Then on Sunday, November the 28th, 2021, 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central, AJ comes back to round the weekend outright with yet one more episode of the Rippin' Rabbit Hole Live Show. This time he'll be talking about planet scouting, something that I personally think is really, really cool. I used to be a part of that, ESETI, where you'd get it on the desktop and help go through the different images and whatnot. Really, really cool. I really hope that's what he'll be discussing in his episode on Planet Scouting on Sunday, November 28th, 2021, 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central, right here on Rippin' Common Sense Radio Network, the Rippin' Rabbit Hole. And that's going to round out the weekend here in the Rippin' Rabbit Hole. And in the meantime, if you're looking for our stuff, like last Thursday's episode of the Darkwolf's Den Show, make sure you hop on over to the rippinrabbithole.com. That is RIPONRABBITHOLE.com. Over there, you're going to find, like I said, the live on air section that has the on demand with the drop down, and you can find every episode we have ever done, as well as a large plethora of fun stuff. First, you're going to have to sign up for your Backstage Pass, though. Always free, absolutely free, always will be. We will send you an email every Wednesday with all the Darkwolf's Den shows and Rippin' Rabbit Holes we'll be doing all weekend long. And we do hold your information securely, as nobody else gets access to it. Also, while you're on the rippinrabbithole.com, make sure you drop down the rabbit hole. That is our privatized social media section. We've got a wall just like those other communist sites like Facebook, except for we don't believe in the censorship that they believe in. So come on over and drop your information down the rabbit hole. Or if you want to talk to us live, there's usually somebody in the 24/7 backstage lounge over there. My favorite place to hang out, and where I'll be going right after the show, ladies and gentlemen. Last but not least, make sure you scroll down the home page there, as we not only keep breaking news on the site, like the Hellenistic fortress ruins showing tangible evidence of Shinaka's story. Sounds like an interesting article if you're interested in archaeology. And as you scroll down, you're going to find a plethora of great recipes. And with Thanksgiving coming up, I'm sure these will be right up your alley. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to hop on over to the Rippin' Rabbit Hole and go on over to that backstage lounge, and I'll see you guys there. On behalf of AJ the Rippin' Rabbit, Chick Mandela Effect, Michael Musco, Walt House, everyone at Rippin' Common Sense Radio, as well as Tom Bayless and Red Shed Studios for this amazing music. Get down with it, Tom. If you're looking for a custom soundtrack for your next project, check out Red Shed Studios. Links in the description. On behalf of all these folks, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Jerry Hicks, also known as the Dark Wolf, and you've been listening to the Darkwolf's Den Radio Show exclusively on Rippin' Common Sense Radio Network, the Rippin' Rabbit Hole. Until next time, ladies and gentlemen, remember, stay awake, but dare to dream. Good night, everybody. Let's go, Brandon. You ready, Bubby? 1, 2, 3. Let's go, Brandon.
FJB.
Let's go, Brandon.
FJB.
Let's go, Brandon.
FJB.
FJB. Let's go, Brandon.
FJB.
Say, let's go, Brandon.
Let's go, Brandon.
FJB.
Let's go, Brandon.
FJB.
Let's go, Brandon.
FJB.
Let's go, Brandon.
Let's go, Brandon.
FJB.
Let's go, Brandon.
FJB.
That's right, Bubby. Let's go, Brandon.
FJB.
FJB. That's right, Bubby. Let's go, Brandon. Let's go, Brandon. FJB. Let's go, Brandon. Now you say it. FJB. Let's go, Brandon. FJB. Let's go, Brandon. FJB. In this riddle. Let's go, Brandon. FJB. Let's go, Brandon. Let's go, Brandon. FJB. 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 Let's go, Brandon. Hey, look in the mic, Bubby. Hey, Let's go, Brandon.
FJB.
FJB.
Let's go, Brandon. FJB.
Let's go, Brandon. FJB. That's right. Somebody said you talk better than the president does. I kind of think they're right. Let's go, Brandon.
FJB.
Let's go, Brandon. FJB.
Let's go, Brandon.
FJB.
Let's go, Brandon. FJB.
Let's go, Brandon. FJB. Let's go, Brandon. FJB. Let's go, Brandon. FJB.
Let's go, Brandon. FJB.
Come on, put it in chat, folks. Join us. Having a good time. Let's go, Brandon. FJB. That's right. Let's go, Brandon. FJB. Let's go, Brandon. Let me hear it, Bubby.
FJB.
Let's go, Brandon. FJB. Hold on. Say FJB.
FJB.
Let's go, Brandon.
FJB.
Let's go, Brandon.
FJB.
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 Let's go, Brandon.
FJB.
Let's go, Brandon.
FJB.
That's right. Let's go, Brandon.
FJB.
FJB.
Let's go, Brandon. FJB.
That's right, Bubby. You're so cool. Give me high fives. That's right. Let's go, Brandon.
FJB.
Let's go, Brandon.
FJB.
You want to join me, Bubby? Let's go. That's right. Yelling it across the room. Let's go, Brandon. FJB. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. My wonderful grandsons help me every week, and I could not be more proud of them. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to wish you a very happy and wonderful Thanksgiving. If I'm not able to, or if you're not able to be here with us, we'll be here tomorrow night, make no mistake. But if you're not able to be here, happy Thanksgiving, folks. I hope it's safe. I hope it's fun. I hope you spend a lot of time with family. And I hope that you scream from the top of your lungs, especially if you have family that don't like it. Yeah, I'm trying to cause trouble. Let's go, Brandon. FJB. Happy Thanksgiving, ladies and gentlemen. I'll see you all next time.